Good morning. It is Sunday, January 4th, 2015, and today we're going to smoke us up a couple of racks of loin back ribs. What's a loin back rib, you ask? A loin back rib, a baby back rib, they're all the same cut of meat from a pig. And they're marketed under different names. HEB, who is our grocer down here in Texas, the biggest grocer, markets them as loin back ribs on the label, and then they also put that they're pork loin baby back ribs here. So why do we call them baby back ribs? Are they from baby pigs? No, they are not from baby pigs. They're from adult pigs, but they're called baby backs because years ago they were referred to baby when the rack of ribs was less than about 1.5 pounds, and then anything larger than that wasn't a baby back rib. The name stuck to all back ribs, but the bottom line is they're all back ribs. They're all loin back ribs because the loin muscle sits right over the ribs where they connect to the spine. Have a look at this graphic. It's another graphic that I stole off of the AmazingRibs.com website, and I feel kind of bad about it because a guy named Craig Goldwyn created this site, and it is just about the best resource I have ever seen for learning anything there is about barbecue. So Craig, please forgive me for stealing your graphic. Hopefully if I credit you and say really nice things and try to drive some traffic to your site, you won't sue me for copyright violations. But anyway, take a look at this graphic. You can see on it where the back ribs come from, off the pig. And as the ribs extend down, you'll hit the spare rib, which includes the rib tips. And then if you cut the rib tips off, that middle section between the rib tips and the back ribs are the St. Louis cut ribs. So there's your pork anatomy lesson for the day. Thanks again, Craig Goldwyn, for your amazing efforts and information that you make freely available to us over the internet. And I do know that you can also sign up for a membership on his site, AmazingRibs.com, and you can get access to a lot more information and resources that he has. So I'm going to give him my big old shout out for this session. So thanks again. All right, let's get to the rub. So this is my go-to rub recipe for pork. Consists of black pepper, coarse sea salt, chopped onion, powdered garlic, and this is the granulated stuff, not the powdery stuff that can get clumpy. Paprika for color, brown sugar, and I love using blue agave as a binder because the sweetness complements the brown sugar really well and goes terrific with the salt. I'm not going to get into measurements or proportions too much when mixing a rub. I do it to taste. So I just make sure there's enough to cover all the meat that I'm going to smoke. I love the way this rub comes out. It's got a great balance between the pepper, the onion, the salt, and the brown sugar particularly. Great flavor combination. I love the way it looks too. And that nice brownish, reddish color that you get with the paprika and the brown sugar. So next we'll prepare the meat. It's about 10:45 right now. If we get the smoker going at around 11 o'clock, get these guys prepared and on the smoker by noon, then we should be eating at around 4 o'clock, 4:30. We're going to smoke these for 4 hours at 225 to 250 degrees. So our next steps are to wash the ribs, remove the membrane from the back side, get the rub going, and then get them on the smoker. Alright, the ribs have just been washed. Now I'm going to show you how to remove the membrane, which is a membrane along the back side of the ribs. It's kind of tricky, it's slippery. Your chances of doing it successfully the first time are slim. So we'll see what I can do here. You need a paper towel because you need something to grip the membrane with. Start with a butter knife. Find some end somewhere that you can get underneath. Sometimes it's right along the bone. And if it cooperates with you, it'll get an edge going. And not having much luck on that end. Let's see what we get on this end. Some people don't remove the membranes. They're tough to chew, but if you're doing your backyard barbecue, you should probably take them off but restaurants and stuff don't generally remove them because it's time consuming and they're cranking through a lot of ribs. Good Lord. Just got to get an edge. Maybe there's enough to grab with the towel. Maybe monkeys will fly into my butt. Boy, I'm going to say screw it. But you really don't eat the backside of the rib anyway, so who cares? Membrane's staying on. Alright, we'll start with our agave binder just a little bit on the back sides. Then a little bit of rub. I don't go nuts on the back because you really don't eat much of the stuff on the back side of the ribs. Some people like to go light on the rub for ribs, not me. I am a big fan of going big or going home on the rubs. There's not a ton of meat on rib, obviously, but darn it, if you have a nice rub, it complements the meat really well, and that's what I got here with this recipe, so I go for it. What I do not do is use a sauce. Some folks like to apply a sauce to their ribs most of the way through the smoking process. There's varying philosophies on that. My philosophy is this. Listen to me. If your meat needs sauce, you have done something wrong and you need to start again. A sauce, like your rub, should complement the natural flavor of the meat, not overwhelm it. So you sauce on the side if you want to dip your meat in it, but don't slather the meat with the sauce. You got it? So here's our rubbed racks of back ribs. We're just going to wait for the smoker to get ready and then we'll put them on. Got the charcoals going on the grill. We're going to cook this at 225 to 250. Right now it's at 154. I'm going to put the ribs on now. Some folks tell you to wait for the smoker to come up to temperature before you put the meat on, but it seems to me like you're wasting heat and smoke, because that's what you want for your meat, right? You want a nice low heat, you want a nice smoky flavor, and all that stuff is going away if I don't have the ribs on it. But do me a favor, if you know a good scientific reason why you need to wait for a smoker to come up to temperature before you put your meat on, please let me know. And don't say, well, it's because it's the way I've always done it, because that's not a reason. I want a nice scientific explanation for why, and I'm happy to change what I do if there's a better way to do it. I just don't know what that is at this juncture. So let's go ahead and put the ribs on. We're going to close this guy back up, and then we'll wait 4 hours. Our bottom air intakes are open all the way, and our top vent is also open all the way. We're going to leave the top vent open throughout the duration. The bottom intakes we're going to adjust to maintain our temperature. We'll check back in 4 hours. I'll give you updates along the way. Just checking in. We are 2 hours into the smoke, and the temperature of the smoker has been between 225 and 248. Right now it's sitting right at 225, so it is exactly where we want it to be, and we couldn't be happy with the progress right now. We don't probe the meat with a thermometer because there isn't enough meat on a rib to do that with. Instead, we go by time if we know we're at a particular temperature, and then we go by look when we're 3.5 to 4 hours into the smoke. So we'll check out in a little bit, but right now it's set and forget. And remember this, we don't peek underneath that hood during the smoke. Why? Because if you're looking, you ain't cooking. We're at the 3.5 hour mark, so we're gonna check to see how these things are coming along. 3.5, 4 hours. The temperature's been steady at 225 to 244-ish, depending on the wind. It's been a little breezy today, so the temperature's been fluctuating a bit. So let's take a look and see what we got. They look awfully good. To test, we're going to go visually here. If we can pick these up by one end and see the meat start to break a little bit, we know that they are done. And we don't see that quite yet. I'm going to cover it back up quickly, keep the heat in there. So we'll give it another half hour. We were planning on 4 hours anyway, so we'll check back in a bit. We are at the 4 hour mark, so let's have a look. And the meat is just starting to break here. And on this guy as well, right up here by the tongs. So I'd say we're done. Let's take them off and wrap them up. We're going to double foil them and then insulate them with some towels because they won't fit in my cooler. And then we're going to let them rest for about an hour. So now we wait. The ribs are all wrapped up in their foil and insulated in a couple of towels, and they'll be resting for an hour. That gives us plenty of time now to prepare the rest of the meal. Also on the menu tonight, we're having roasted Brussels sprouts, seasoned and roasted in olive oil, and we're going to have some creamy mashed potatoes and some cornbread. So we got a great meal ahead of us. We're looking forward to it. The ribs are ready, so let's open them up and take a look. I'll have this out in a jiff. That couldn't look any better. The big test here is to make sure that it does not fall off the bone, but rather the bones can be pulled out easily enough. And that is exactly what we have. There's a concept known as pitmaster privilege, where I get to eat whatever I want because I cooked it. I'm going to try this. It is sweet and juicy, just like we like. Let's cut it up. And there you have it. I don't think they could have come out any better. They're nice and moist. They're coming off the bone beautifully, and they taste perfect. If you take a look, you can see a nice smoke ring that's formed around the bottom, and just around the top, you see the pink line indicating the smoke ring. I think you can see it better on this one here. Let's eat. 2 racks of ribs down our hatches, and we ate the membranes anyway, and it all came out fine. I don't think I'm ever going to take a membrane off a rack of ribs again because it's too much work, and honestly, I don't see the reason for it. So, we'll catch you next time.